Hello everyone, this is Dr. Neelu Srivastava. I am Assistant Professor in English, Government Digvijay Autonomous PG College, Rajnandgaon. And today we are going to take up A.G. Gardner as an essays, which is in the syllabus of MA second semester, paper 3, prose, unit 3. So students, A.G. Gardner, as we know, was an English journalist, editor and author. He is known as one of the most prominent, delightful and popular modern English essayists. His essays are uniformly elegant, graceful and humorous. His uniqueness lies in his ability to teach the basic truths of life in an easy and amusing manner. And he wrote essays under the pseudonym of Alpha of the Plough. So let us deal with the main characteristics of A.G. Gardner as an essayist. So students, as we know, A.G. Gardner was an English journalist, editor and author. He is known as one of the most prominent, delightful and popular modern English essayists. His essays are uniformly elegant, graceful and humorous. His uniqueness lies in his ability to teach the basic truth of life in an easy, amusing manner. He wrote his essays under the pseudonym Alpha of the Plough. The career of A.G. Gardner extends from the Victorian age to the modern age. His cheerful and optimistic deliverance makes him a significant writer of his age. He writes on trivial matters which everyone faces in day-to-day life. He looks at the oddities of life with diversifying perspectives and beautifies them with the added flavor of humorous sense and presents them with a unique style of simplicity. He laughs at the follies of the people and satirizes his own defects. His essays under the pen name of Alpha of the Plough are incredible and noteworthy. Students, we can divide Gardner's writings in 4 kinds of categories. The first is essays, second is character sketches, third is full-length biographies and fourth is criticism. And some of his best known collection of writings are Pillars of Society, Pebbles on the Shore, Many Furrows, Leaves in the Wind. Gardner was essentially a journalist and his hand was always on the pulse of the people. All his writings were about his people and are addressed to common man. In the beginning, he wrote for Northern Daily Telegraph and Weekly Telegraph. His final and lasting work was with Daily News, of which he later became the editor. Journalism colored both the matter and manner of his essays. It was his business to inform, entertain and instruct his readers, and he performed this job admirably through his essays and character sketches. His essays can be classified under 4 categories. The first is social and cultural essays, second is moral and philosophical essays, third is war essays, and fourth is literary and critical essays. Now let us deal with A.G. Gardner as an essayist, and we will discuss in detail the salient features of Gardner's essay writing. The first quality of A.G. Gardner is that he is the champion of the underdogs. The essays of Gardner were exactly like the man he was. His own early life had been a tale of misery and poverty. He was harnessed to work even as a boy of 14. In his essay on waking up, he writes, "There was a period of my childhood when I should have liked to have been born a muffin man." This experience colored his personality as well as his writings. It was this that made Gardner a crusader and a knight at arms of the poor and the underdogs. He was a true humanitarian to the core of his heart. But then his fight was neither bitter nor hurtful. He, like Galsworthy, argued like a judge, and like a poet, he showed the injustice, exploitation, oppression, and utter helplessness of the downtrodden in his society. Again, like Galsworthy, he tried to arouse the social and moral conscience of the world made sluggish and unresponsive to human misery. This endeared him to the masses, and this made him a true mouthpiece of the liberal world over. The second quality of A.G. Gardner as an essayist was that he was a genial and gentle writer. Gardner was a crusader and a staunch fighter without any doubt, but he was genial and gentle as well. His weapons did not injure like those of Jonathan Swift, they only tickled like a feather. He was vehemently opposed to every kind of sham, snobbery, and hypocrisy. He ridiculed them, but gently and good humoredly. It was therefore that even his victim admired him. He prefers to throw small pebbles wrapped in cotton, which may hurt a little but never show. He makes fun of wearing a monocle because they are worn as a symbol of snobbery. Women of fashion are quite often target of his mild satire. In the essay Pockets and Things, he writes, I confess I never see high heels without looking for a mindless face, and I never look in vain. So that was the kind of satire that A.G. Gardner used to attack on in a very gentle manner. Another quality of Gardner is that he had a personal touch with his readers. Gardner never speaks from the high pedestal of a preacher, assuming superiority and authoritativeness over his readers, as Francis Bacon did. On the contrary, he creates an atmosphere of informal cordiality and speaks to them as a friend. Like Addison and Steele and Oliver Goldsmith, he very soon establishes rapport with them, so that his essays become interesting conversation. In his essay on being idle, the very first sentence he says, I have long labored under a dark suspicion that I am an idle person. So he does not hesitate to even laugh at himself. Next quality of Gardner's essay that we find is lucidity. Since Gardner was a journalist, lucidity was the hallmark of his writings. His thoughts were very clear, transparent, and he knew how to express them clearly and forcefully. Even when the topic was very abstract and abstruse, he could say it in such a simple and straightforward manner that we need not tax our minds to comprehend it. See, an idea may be good, but no idea is good enough to chain one's whole waking thought. So, his ideas are very clear-cut for the readers to understand. Next feature of Gardner as an essayist is dramatic technique. He uses dramatic technique while writing essays. We see very often Gardner's essays give the impression of a drama. We feel as if we are just enjoying a drama. First comes exposition, then a conflict of some sort, then a climax, and finally the denouement. His essay, All About a Dog, is a fine example in this regard. In a bitterly cold night, two women and a man boarded a bus at the bus stop. The younger of the two women had a beady-eyed Pekingese lap dog. As a rule, dogs were not allowed to be carried on the lower deck. The conductor was a resentful employee, therefore started the conflict. He asked the young lady with the dog to carry the dog to the upper deck. The lady refused to do so. Then there were many complications. Finally, passing through every stage of object surrender, she disappeared up the stairs and bus again moved. But Gardner was not writing the fiction, but we feel as if we are just reading a drama or a fiction. So here is the moral: rules are necessary things, but there are rules and rules only. Next quality of A.G. Gardner is that he uses episodes and anecdotes in his essays. Gardner's essays are enlivened with abundant sprinkling of anecdotes and episodes. They serve as attention catchers as well as reinforcing cement. In other words, these anecdotes and episodes draw the attention of the readers to the idea under discussion, keep it riveted to it, give a story-like interest to it, and fix it up in his memory forever. Another feature of Gardner's essay is that laughing on himself. Gardner never hesitates in laughing on himself either. There are situations which are bound to give offense to someone or the other. On such occasions, Gardner walks cautiously and more often than not uses himself as a laughing stock. He puts himself either alone or with that somebody in that situation and makes his point as his own expense. An example of such a situation and Gardner's strategy in dealing with it is there in his essay on ourselves and others. Gardner's golf playmate is insensitive to the feelings of other players. Gardner is obliged to hear curses because of his playmates and inconsiderateness. But soon he applies soothing balm to the likely sores of his playmate and says, "Now my friend was not an ill-mannered boor, nor even a selfish person." Then we see that the essays of Gardner are elegant, although they are simple. Gardner possesses a remarkable skill in balance and appropriateness. Like the great artist of like Edison and Steele, he is elegant and simple at the same time. He can become light-hearted when the situation is light and elegant and somber when it is serious. At times he mixes them in a very balanced manner. This saves him from frivolity and monotony. In his essay on waking up, he starts poetically, but soon we find him discussing eternity and saying philosophically that we are cast in an infinite mold and think in infinite terms. We cling to the thought of immortality less perhaps from the desire to enjoy it for ourselves than from fear of eternal separation from the companionship of those who love, and companionship we would fair believe to be deathless. Then we find that the essays of Gardner have epigrammatic quality. Gardner is a wonder coiner of epigrams, proverb-like sentences, and pithy sayings. Two notable examples of them are, "The art of defense is attack." Sancho Panza is happy in any age, and Don Quixote is always sorrowful. So in a very epigrammatic style, he talks to his reader and attacks on the satirical point of views. Then Gardner uses apt quotations in his essays. Gardner's wide reading of great authors was of great help to him and came handy to lend support and strength to his point. In this connection, Shakespeare and Wordsworth are his usual creditors. From Wordsworth's Leech Gatherer, he draws the lesson of industriousness. Gardner had tremendous love for nature. He loved nature for his own sake. Wherever and whenever he found occasion, he sang its beauties in a lyrical manner. In On Waking Up, he opens the essay with the words, "When I awoke this morning and saw the sunlight streaming over the valley and beech woods with rich fires of autumn and heard the ducks clamoring for their breakfast, I felt, as the Americans say, good." So what a poetic way to start an essay. Again, on Being Idle, he expresses his desire to set the stuffy thoroughfare caroling with larks and make it green with the green and dappled wonder of the beech woods. So he was like romantic writers, like romantic poets, so far as the love for nature is concerned. Then Gardner uses images, wit, humor, pathos, irony, and satire to flourish his essays. Gardner has several other literary attractions to win the hearts of his readers. They are images. So let us deal with images first. Gardner creates his images with the help of apt metaphors and familiar symbols. Discussing life as a game of cricket, he says, but it is knowledge that the innings will end, that every ball may be the last, that gives zest to the game. So he has given the image of a cricket match and personified them to a life of a man. Then Gardner is a master of wit. He is a ready-witted writer. A single example will suffice to support our observation. We need to have our liberties taken away to discover they are worth dying for. Then humor is one of the most distinguished quality of A.G. Gardner's essays. Humor is to Gardner the very essence of his style. Whenever he feels that the discussion is getting dull, he throws in a humor or two. This anchors him to his readers and illumines the discussion. In his essay on waking up, while describing the damages caused by World War I, he all of a sudden throws in the name of Caesar, poor wretch, and says he wanted the whole earth, and now he is discovering that he is entitled to just 6 feet of it, the same as the lowliest peasant in his hand. So even a very serious matter he talks in a very humorous way. Then pathos is another striking feature of Gardner's essay. In Gardner's war essays, we have an abundance of pathos. War is one of the worst calamity that destroys everything good and beautiful. Truth too is a casualty. It is therefore natural that Gardner, the humanitarian, is shaken to his roots. It is in such situations that his pen sheds tears of utmost sorrow. A grotesque caricature of a daredevil swagger, and they laugh loudly and vacantly. Their gaiety suggests the animation of a trout with a hook in its throat. Then another style of Gardner's essay, it includes irony. Irony is yet another weapon in the armory of Gardner. He laughs at the laughable, and where the laughable is evil, as the war was, his humor becomes ridicule. Hits the sinners without hurting, but only to reform them. He speaks of gun as great God ironically. Another weapon of Gardner is satire. Satire is the rare in Gardner's essay, but whenever he uses it, he shows great restraint lest the venom of bitterness should spoil his purpose. An example of Gardner's satire is worth quoting. I am sure he will not be soldier, and I don't think he will be politician. These people make only a great noise in the world, but rarely do anything that matters to posterity. Thus, we see that these are the qualities that A.G. Gardner makes the most sought after essays of the 20th century. He is delightful, yet instructive teaching, but not preaching, simple and elegant, light-hearted but never frivolous, witty, humorous, and sometimes satirical, but never harsh or hurtful. He is like a judge, and he keeps his eyes on both the sides of the coin and delivers his judgment dispassionately. So we see that A.G. Gardner was a journalist and a great essayist, and he had a vast readership to whom he served the most delicious dish of his pen. So I am sure, students, you must have understood the main features of the writing of A.G. Gardner. In the next essay, we will take up the essay of A.G. Gardner on painted face. Thank you.